What's up, everyone? Before we begin, I want to share that this presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. It contains mature language discussed in an academic and clinical context, but it is not a substitute for professional mental health support. If you are experiencing stress, please reach out to a professional, a licensed clinician, medical doctor, or go to the nearest emergency room or contact the crisis lifeline. From B bleep TCH to Queen, a psychotherapist's invitation to reclaim your divine femininity. So, let me share a little story. I was recently in a room full of women. These were brilliant and beautiful, powerful women. And within 5 minutes of being in this space, I heard that word, at least a dozen times. Women greeting each other with it, laughing with it, claiming it as their badge of honor. I even see it posted on social media, bios, printed on t-shirts, and even sung in some of our favorite song videos. And as I sat there as a psychotherapist watching this happen, I thought, we have no idea what we are doing to ourselves. My name is Tanya Octave. I'm a bi-ethnic black and white psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and a wellness coach. And today I want to talk about a word that has been used to silence women for thousands of years, a word that we have tried to reclaim, tried to soften, tried to turn into a weapon of our very own. So I want to ask us a hard clinical question today. Why do we hold on to a word that was used to diminish us? And what does it cost us in our bodies, in our minds, even in our spirits when we do this? So let's talk a little bit about definitions. I'm going to use the three forms, and for the purposes of this clinical discussion, I'm going to say the word aloud in this section so we can just look at it in its clarity. After that, I won't use the word anymore, just for my own comfortability. You know, in modern culture, this word has existed in 3 distinct forms. First, there is bitch. This is a weapon. This is the word used by men, and sometimes even other women, to silence women who just step out of line. It is the word thrown at you when you say no, when you set a boundary, or when you just refuse to shrink. And then the second, there is the bad bitch. This is a reclaiming attempt. This is the word used by women to signal power, independence, and success. It is actually meant as a compliment. It is meant to say, ooh, I am untouchable, and so are you. And then the third is just the B word. This is a polite avoidance. This is how we acknowledge the word's power without actually confronting the trauma it carries. You know, the word has, 1,000-year history. But where did this word come from? According to linguistic research, the word is over 1,000 years old, and it began in Old English as bicey, which is simply a neutral term for a female dog. But almost immediately, it leaped into this figurative use as an insult to women. In ancient Greece and Rome times, the equivalent word of dog was already being used, as other insults, especially towards women. And then when aimed at women, it really kind of implied forms of disobedience, immodesty, even shamelessness. And probably by the 18th century, it had become one of the most powerful gender insults in the English language. A pretty famous dictionary from 1785 called it the most offensive application that can be given to women. Other insults from this era, like shrew or harlot, they kind of faded away over time, but this word survived. Why? Because of its flexibility? It is used to chastise women for being nagging or manipulative, but crucially, it is also used to punish women for traits that are considered positive in men. Things like assertiveness and ambition, sexual confidence and authority. Those things that are positive traits that we see in our male counterparts. Now, this word has always been about one thing and one thing only. Know what it is? Ladies and gentlemen, power. Power, power, power. Specifically the power to put women back in their place. It is not just an insult, it's a behavioral correction mechanism embedded in our language. How do we get there? Before the word, let me just take us back a bit further. Before the word existed in, let's say, any language, before colonization, even before slavery, and I did want to introduce a little bit of a saying from the rapper Nas. You know, he has a lyric that I just love, and he says, "Before we came to this country, we were kings and queens, never porch monkeys. There were empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books." And then it continues. Before the trauma, I want you to know there was royalty. Look at the African queens of antiquity. Queen Amaranis of Kush, who defeated Roman forces. Queen Nzinga by Dongo, who outsmarted colonizers in warfare and diplomacy. And even Queen Amina Azazur, who expanded her territory and led armies. Let's even look at spiritual traditions, like Aset, also known in Greek as Isis. She was one of the most powerful goddesses in ancient Egyptian times. Her name literally means throne, which was the seat of power, but she just wasn't powerful. She was the goddess of wisdom, of healing, compassion, wisdom. She was exceptionally wise, and she was fiercely loving. You know, this is our original identity. This is our authentic identity. This is what women and femininity really is. Before anyone gave us a label, before anyone told us what we were queens, we were healers, and we were wise women. So how did we get from Aset, Isis to bad B bleep TCH? Colonization and patriarchy required dehumanization of women. To oppress a queen, you had to strip her of her queenship. You had to reduce her to animal form. And this crosses across all racial lines. Every culture has its version of this word. In Spanish, it's para. In Asian cultures, there are specific words for women who are too loud, too much. The function is always the same, to silence the feminine power. In the 1960s, feminists tried to take the word back. They wrote manifestos saying the word was beautiful. Huh? In 1993, Queen Latifah, who I love, released her Grammy-winning album, Unity, U-N-I-T-Y, directly confronting the men who used the word, demanding, who you calling up? Bloop, 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 bloop. Even Taylor Swift, you know, she has spoken out about it, saying there's no such thing as someone's bossy, bloop, bloop. There's just a boss. You know, I honor all these women. They are trying to take the power back. But as a psychotherapist, I have to ask even harder questions today. Did it work? When we call ourselves this word, are we reclaiming our power, or are we just decorating our cage? What research says? Let's talk about dehumanization, self-dehumanization. Let's look at the psychology. In December 2024, a groundbreaking study was published in the Journal of Language and Social Psychology. Researchers looked at over 1,000 women to see what happens when they were targeted with sexist slurs. The findings, they were profound. When women were called this word, they don't just get angry. They actually begin to dehumanize themselves. They begin to perceive themselves as less human and more object-like. This is not about being offended. This is about your nervous system, your self-concept, your sense of your own humanity being literally altered by a word. The researchers noticed that this self-dehumanization negatively impacts women's well-being and their life outcomes. When we internalize sexist message, we develop chronic self-monitoring. We experience reduced self-efficacy, and we even have higher rates of anxiety and depression. I hope those are on our clinical assessment tools. Now, so what happens when we call each other this word? What happens when we put bad in front of it and call it empowerment? Every time we call ourselves this or our sisters this word, we're actually doing the patriarch's work for them. We are saving them, the trouble. Think about the bad version of the word. What are the traits associated with it? Aggression, dominance, ruthlessness, competition, emotional detachment. These are not feminist traits. No, they're not. They are masculine survival traits. When we use this word as a compliment, we're not reclaiming feminine power. We are adapting a masculine framework of power. We are trying to win in a game designed by and for men. No, thank you. Bye-bye. The brilliant black feminist Audre Lorde famously said, "The master's tool will never dismantle the master's house." We cannot heal feminine wounds with masculine weapons. We cannot reclaim our queenship by becoming what oppressed us. Let me show you how this looks like in real life situations. I want to share 3 clinical vignettes that are composed based on dynamics that I constantly see in my practice and even just in the world. You probably will be able to relate to them. The first one is called the sister trauma bond. Imagine 2 black women, close friends, meeting up for brunch. They greet each other with this word and they're laughing and having fun, and it just feels like love and companionship. It feels like belonging. It feels like, girl, I see you too. From a psychodynamic perspective, what's happening? This is a trauma bond. It is a shared wound that creates connection. Subconsciously, the exchange is saying, we have both been called this. We have both survived this world that hates us. So we hear this label together. And we share this label together. We wear this label together. This is our connection. The need underneath, it's beautiful. The need is of belonging and recognition and of sisterhood. But the vehicle they're using to get there is a wound. They are bonding over their shared diminishment. What if we gave each other the exact same love with the exact same recognition, but we called each other queen instead? What would that shift look like in our bodies? Hi, queen. Welcome, queen. Nice to see you, queen. What if we gave each other that exact same love with the same recognition? I wonder what would shift in your body. Now, this is what I call the cross-cultural wound. Imagine a multi-cultural friendship, a Black woman and a Latina woman, and they use the word freely with each other because it's a sign of solidarity. The word crosses racial lines because the oppression crosses racial lines. Both have been silenced, both have been told they are way too much. In Spanish, the equivalent words really carry the exact same function, reducing a woman to an animal. You see, this is a cross-cultural trauma bond. It says, you have been diminished too. Welcome to the club. But what club are we inviting each other to? The club of women who have accepted that this is who we are? The Chicana feminist Glory Anzaldúa wrote about the colonization of the mind. When we use these words, we are allowing the colonizers to live inside of our mouths. What if our solidarity was built on our shared wisdom instead of our shared wounds? Ooh. The third one, I call this the power dynamic. Finally, imagine a woman in a workplace meeting. She speaks up, challenges a decision, but holds her ground. And a male colleague, not a stranger, someone she knows, uses the word. Maybe even says it in a playful way. What happens in her body? Immediate self-monitoring, second-guessing, shrinking. The self-dehumanization that research talks about is triggered instantly. The defenses arise. Maybe she gets angry. Ooh, that's our fight response. Maybe she goes silent. That's our freeze response. Maybe she deflects with humor. Oh, that's our fawn response. These are not overreactions. They are survival responses. Your nervous system recognizes this word as a threat because historically, it was a threat. When a man uses his words, he is not just insulting you. He is invoking 1,000 years of behavioral correction. He is saying, you get back in your place. And the tragedy is that sometimes to survive, we do. What is the healing path from bee to queen? I am not here today to tell you to ban this word. Banning words does not heal. It drives it underground. I'm here to invite you to ask yourself a question. Do I still need this word? Does it still serve me? Or am I holding on to it because letting go means letting go of an identity that I built around surviving? I want us to return to the motto of Aset, Isis, the original divine feminine. The wisdom and healing, compassion and magic, protection and so much love. The feminist scholar Bell Hooks wrote, learning to love our female selves is where our search for love must begin. You cannot love your female self you cannot love your female self while calling her a derogatory name. You cannot nurture your soul while feeding it poison. So, what's the alternative? How do we heal? What if, just for today, you try something different? Instead of greeting your friend with that word, what if you said, "What's up, queen?" Instead of saying, "She's a bad bleep, 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 bleep," what if you say, "Woo, she is a powerful woman"? Instead of saying, "I'm that bleep, 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 bleep," what if you say, "I'm a queen. I am divine." Yes, it might feel awkward at first. It might feel even unfamiliar. But as a therapist, I can tell you that awkwardness, it is information, it is data. It tells you exactly how deeply this old language is wired into the brain. But the brain is neuroplastic. New pathways can be built. Every time you choose a different word, you are choosing a different neural pathway. You are literally rewiring your self-concept. You are moving from a trauma response to what? A healing response. I want to live in a world where women heal each other, where we walk into a room and we elevate each other, where we lead with wisdom, compassion, not competition or aggression. This is not weakness. That would be divine feminine. This is the most powerful thing a woman can be. You know, we're really at a moment in history where women are rising, where the divine feminine is being called back into the world to heal the planet that is deeply out of balance, so deeply out of balance. But the healing has to start within us. It has to start with the words we choose. It has to start with what we call ourselves in the quiet of our own minds. It starts with what we call each other when we meet each other. You are not the word they use to silence you. You never were. You are a queen. You've always have been. You just need to remember that. Remember, remember, remember. Because you are a queen. Breathe that in and exhale that truth. If this message resonates with you today, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We are trying to build a community here focused on holistic mental health, healing intergenerational trauma, and reclaiming our true power. If you are ready to do this deep work in your own life, I offer a free consultation. The link will be in the description below. Let's talk about how we can work together to rewire those pathways and step into your authentic self. I also invite you to check out my book, Heal the Mind, 7 Strategies Towards Mental Wellness, Happiness, and Success. It is available on Amazon, where we can take a deep dive into the Octaves method for holistic healing. You can also join me on my podcast, Trauma and Social Work. The last season, season 5, was a mother and son dialogue, a beautiful dialogue, and it is available on Spotify. Please share this video with women in your life who need to hear it. Let's start changing the language of our sisterhood today. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, the work of healing is the most important revolutionary act you can do. You are worth it. You are worth it, my queen.